Hi, I'm Stuart from the Norfolk Honey Company and welcome back to my Getting Started in Beekeeping series of videos for 2017. Today we're following on from last week where we decided that the super had been capped sufficiently, so we're going to remove the super ready for extraction today. And the way we're going to do that is in two steps. We're going to place something called a clearer board beneath the super, and then tomorrow I'll come back and remove the super. So what I'd like to do today is to just show you the clearer board and the type that we use, and then we'll show you how that goes onto the hive, and then I'll come back tomorrow and shoot another quick video showing you how the super is emptied of bees, and we can just simply lift it off. So let's take a look at the clearer board and then we'll go over and carry out an inspection. It's a little bit cloudy and chilly again today. We've had a few showers, so it'll be a very quick inspection, but the whole purpose of today's video is to just show you the clearer board and the way that that operates. So this is our clearer board. It's one of a number that we use, and this is how we get all of the bees out of the super. It's basically a plywood board with a wooden surround and a fairly deep recess to the surround, so it's almost like an eek that you would fit onto a beehive. And then we tend to use these clearers, which are called rhombus clearers. It's this rhombus shape and it's got a small hole at each end, and we drill a hole in the center of the plywood on the back. The bees go through that hole and come out into the rhombus clearer, and then the only way out is at the two ends, and so the bees funnel out of the ends and then don't go back through. And this is really effective. It can take just a few hours to clear, but we tend to use them overnight, so we'll put this on this morning and then I'll come back tomorrow morning and the bees will have cleared the super. So basically what happens is the bees realise that they're not connected to the queen any longer. They go through the hole almost in a panic and come out the ends, but then don't return back into the super. The super sits on top of this, and then we can just simply lift it off in the morning without having to open up the hive at all. So let's get the smoker lit and we'll head over to the hive and I'll show you how this works. So today is just a brief inspection, so again we won't be taking the chrome board off and looking in the super. We just want to remove the super, and that's really heavy now. I suspect that that's fully capped. With a very strong colony, you might want to place a super beneath the clearer board in order to provide extra space for the bees to clear down into. But with a smaller size colony, there's no need to use any additional space. But you do need to be mindful, particularly in the spring, that you give the bees some room to clear down into, because you could trigger a swarming instinct because they're running out of space. So here, this is the frame that we're going to remove. It's now down to a very small area of brood on both sides, and the queen hasn't laid any eggs and there are no larvae here. So with this capped brood, that's going to all emerge over the next few days and weeks, and then we can remove that finally from this hive. So as I say, this is going to be just a very quick inspection. This is the drone brood frame, which I'm also going to remove. And we're getting to the point now where drones are no longer required by the colony. So at some point in the not too distant future, we'll see the workers starting to remove drones, maybe late August into September, when there won't be any queens that require mating, and the drones then just become a drain on the resources of the colony because they perform no function through the winter. The colony doesn't want any drones to eat all of the food stores that they're putting away, so they will kick out all of the drones and only have workers and the queen through the winter period. So we've got lots of bees that have emerged. The brood is looking really good. At this time of the year, when the nectar flow starts to dry up, the bees can get a little bit agitated, they can get a little bit unfriendly, but these bees have done a great job. The queen is on this frame. You can probably see her just wandering down on the left hand side as you look at it. I won't be moving her around or touching her today, but with the yellow dot it's so easy to see, so that's one of the real positive reasons for marking your queen. You know that it's the queen that you've marked, it's your queen, and if you do have a situation where they supersede the queen, you're going to end up with a queen that doesn't have a yellow dot on it, so you'll then know that the queen has been superseded. Lots of brood again, and I'm just going through these fairly quickly today, because the main emphasis of this video is to show you the clearer board in operation, how we put that on. But again, I'm just looking at the general health of the bees. They all look great. And once you remove the honey from the colony, you can then use some of the treatments for varroa if you have a varroa problem that you couldn't use if you were leaving the honey on and removing it at a later date for extraction. So for instance, you can't use a thymol based product because the thymol will taint the honey, whereas you can use the Mite Away quick strips because the formic acid doesn't taint the honey. So that's one of the reasons why I like to use the Mite Away quick strips. You can't always say when a colony needs to be treated for varroa. If you get a sudden rush of varroa in a colony, sudden population explosion, you need to treat them at that point, and you can't wait necessarily. So there we are, we're back through into the 3 frames at this end that just have stores in. And so now we're going to close these up. Just avoid crushing bees. So we'll just shake these bees off so we can get this frame back in without crushing any bees or rolling any bees. Okay, so that's now in place, which is great. We'll just pop the queen excluder back on. Knock the bees off the queen excluder. We'll pop that on there. So that's the inspection carried out, and we've got the queen excluder back in place. You can remove the queen excluder, but I like to leave it in place in order to make sure that the queen doesn't come up and end up on the underside of the clearer board. So with this colony, we're not going to put an additional super on, we're just going to clear them down into the underside of the clearer board, and that's why we have the gap beneath the clearer board, so that there's room for the bees to clear down into. So that sits on top of the queen excluder, and the bees, remember, are going to go through this hole and then out the sides of the rhombus clearer. And now all we have to do is to lift the super up and onto the top of the clearer board. And so basically the bees in this super are now trapped. They're separated from the queen below, so her pheromone will start to disappear from the top box, and the bees will go down through the clearer board, through that small circle in the middle. And if I just take the crown board off to show you how many bees we've got here. So the top box still has plenty of bees in it. And what we'll do is we'll pop the crown board back on, pop the roof on, and then tomorrow I'll come back and we'll remove the super, and I'll show you how clear it is having used this rhombus clearer board. Okay, so we'll just pop the roof on. So I've come back to the allotment apiary to remove the super. It's quite a warm sunny morning, so I've tried to get out as early as possible, but there's still quite a bit of heat in the summer sun. So we're going to take the roof off and have a look at the super. Just a couple of things first. There's generally no need to use any smoke on the colony. With any luck, all of the bees will now be down through the clearer board, and there should be very few bees in the super itself. So all we need to do is to just remove the roof, take the crown board off the super, lift the super off the clearer board, and then put the crown board and the roof back on. We're not going to inspect the bees at all. So all we really need is a hive tool, so I'll just get my hive tool and we'll spin the camera around, and then we'll see whether we've been able to clear all the bees from the super. Just one final thing before we take the roof off. If you're new to beekeeping, you're unsure about the type of bees that you've got, I would always recommend putting on a bee suit and having your veil up. There's no point in being brave and trying to do this without a bee suit on and finding that there's still bees around and that you get stung. So if you're an experienced beekeeper and you know your bees, well then that's great, but if not, just take the precautions that you need to and just wear your bee suit to make sure that you're fully protected. Okay, so let's have a look and see what we've got inside the super. So there's a few bees at the top here, so we'll just take the crown board off. And then we can lift off the super directly from the clearer board, and I don't know whether you can see through the frames, but there are very few bees. There may be a dozen bees inside the super, so we'll just pop that to one side. That's nice and heavy. And we'll get the crown board. We pop the crown board back on. We've got a drone here, and then the roof goes back on, and that's all there is to removing the super. So as you can see, it's a very straightforward process. There's no real panic. You don't have to shake lots of bees out of the frames. So a clearer board is obviously a really valuable tool if you've got some honey that you want to extract, and the supers are full of bees. There are a range of different clearer boards and pieces of equipment that are available for you to clear supers into the boxes below so that you can remove the honey. Porter bee escapes, Canadian clearer boards, the rhombus style that we use, and there are also lots of different methods as well. Commercial beekeepers might use petrol blowers to blow the bees out of the supers, but I find the best technique that works for me is using a clearer board and leaving them on overnight, and the following morning the bees generally fully cleared. So let's just take a quick look at a couple of the supers before we head off back home, and then in another video we'll show you how we extract the honey and let you see what sort of crop we've got. Okay, so let's have a look at a couple of these frames before we head off. It's important that you don't leave them out for too long, because not only will they cool down, but also you might have bees flying around trying to take an interest in what you've got. So that to me is a fantastic looking super frame of honey, and on the other side again a really nice looking capped frame of delicious summer honey. And let's just have a look at one more. And I think these bees have done a fantastic job in not only developing as a full-size colony in the brood box, but supplying us with a crop of honey. So if you're a beginner beekeeper and you get yourself a nucleus colony in the spring, early summer, then this is what you should be looking for as a first season. Maybe 1 or 2 supers of honey, depending on when you get started early in the year. So I'm going to pack these away now, and we'll get them off home and look forward to extracting it. So there we are, a fantastic crop of honey, and I'm really looking forward to extracting that and seeing what it tastes like. If you've not yet subscribed, please do consider subscribing. Not only have we got all of our videos online, but I'll also be talking in the near future about some online courses that I've been preparing, particularly for beginner beekeepers, but also for those that are interested in microscopy and queen rearing, and we'll try and get those out to you over the coming months through the autumn and winter in preparation for our UK beekeeping season early next spring. I'm very grateful to everybody that's subscribed so far. We've just hit 4,000 subscribers, which is absolutely phenomenal, and I'm very grateful to everybody that's signed up and is watching and hopefully enjoying my videos. Don't forget our Facebook group, which is Stuart's Beekeeping Basics, and that's an ever-growing group of beekeepers, and I hope you'll join us for some beekeeping conversations there. And finally, thanks again to everyone that signed up on our Patreon page. I really do appreciate all of the support you give us, and I'll put links to all of these various sites down in the description below should you want to take a look at that. So we'll catch up next week when hopefully we'll be extracting some of this delicious honey, but until then, thanks for watching.